are a lot more revealing than you think. There's a lot more information in what you're saying or not saying than you think. So for example, do you think that you gave me any kind of information?
No.
Well, of course you did. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Is there any particular reason why I stopped at a particular person, do you think? If you think that this is not calculated, you're dreaming. You're dreaming. This is very calculated. Everything is very calculated. So first of all, the way that I chose my participant was sort of sloppy, no? I sort of threw a card, so it gives us some kind of a random feel. But did you notice that she was the only person around this area and the card fell exactly on her? That should give you some pause. Now, what you're distracted by is the course of the way that the card flies. But I can actually control these cards much better than you think. I created an expectation in your head when I was playing this game that I can't throw very well, but I can. I can throw really well. And I can get very specific people, something that I never said. Although I told you as part of the lecture, I told you some people are really good at this. But if I would show you that I can target people like that, you would realize that it's not a random selection. So this gives it like sort of a feel that it's a random selection. Did you see me go through your wallet before the lecture? So how can I get the serial number? Obviously, there's something about serial numbers of $20 bills, right? That maybe I know that you don't know. Now, there's also a lot of distraction here. Did you notice the distraction? I give you a lot of dead routes to explore. Like people saying, how is it related? How did he know to change it from A to W? How did he know the numbers? How did he know to start with 651? I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to tell you that this is a trick. It's a trick that many people can perform. I wouldn't say everyone, but many people can perform. And it requires some dexterity, some quick thinking, and a lot of very subtle information. I'll show you another trick. Remember the egg. Can I have a scarf? Does somebody have a scarf that they're willing to donate for science? We've already donated you for science. Can we have a different scarf? Maybe something slightly more expensive. Okay, all right. Let me have that. Do you want to do it with me? Because I would feel horrible if this gets on the scarf. And then if you do it, I'll feel a little bit better. Okay. Do we have a garbage can here? I don't know. This is an egg I brought from home. Does it feel eggy to you? Yeah? Okay. I actually brought two. And what I want to do is, come with me. Let's stand over here. Do we have a garbage can? Because this is prone to accidents. You hold your egg. Do we have? Outside. Okay, we'll use it if we need to. Is it okay if is it all right? I want to show you sleight of hand, okay? Let me just check. Okay, just wanted to make sure it's solid and everything. Here is sleight of hand. This is your scarf? Okay. Sleight of hand is not just with cards, it's with any object, and it has to do with changing the way that you see something. You can do it with an egg just because eggs are round and symmetrical, so you can do certain things with them. That's the most important quality of them. I'll teach you how to do it, and then you'll do it. Okay? Take the egg and put it under. Can you feel it? Just don't break it. Can you feel it? No. No? You have to see it. Okay? So take the egg, put it under. Can you feel it? Okay, and then the whole dance starts. Okay, I'll try to show you. Here's the egg. Okay. How many people think the egg is not here? Okay, so touch it. It's there. Okay? Now, I'm going to take another piece of the scarf, because it's already suffocating in there. And I'm going to cover it too. Okay? All right. So now we have two loops around it. Is it here? So now it's more difficult for you to see, and you have to rely on your friend here, which I promised how much money for your participation? None. All right. So you missed two things that already happened. The first was, I'm sorry to tell you. The first was I gestured towards this young woman, and you all looked at her. Why do you do this? I started my lecture by showing you that you shouldn't be looking at the clock. I asked her the most innocuous questions. You know that something is about to happen over here, and you keep on looking at her when you know that the action is over here. Why do you do this? Because it's very difficult for you. It's very difficult for you to keep your attention on one thing when interesting things happen in other things. Well, you missed it already, most of you. Is the X still here? Yeah, but the trick has already happened. Let me show you what the trick is. The trick is that I can take the egg and smash it. I'll try it again. Smash it! Like really. And not only that, as I see, it really feels like what did you have in here? But look, something very strange happens, and this is all happened just in front of you. Look very carefully as I do this. It's not eggshells, actually. If you look carefully, well, it's difficult to see, I think. There are some eggshells, and there's a little bit of confetti, but I don't see it. It's probably in here somewhere. I don't know. You'll have to take it. Well, the point is, when did I put on the switch? Did you see the switch? It was right here in front of you. Did you see the switch? Okay, you want to try now? I'm standing to the other side. I suggest, by the way, that you practice at home before you do this, oh yeah! Oh, it's the same thing. Yes? Yeah? Can it, I mean, I have one more thing to show, so if you stay here, because we have 15 minutes and I just want to show one more thing, okay? I'll stay here at the end, and we can do this again. But I prefer if you bring another start, because this one is a little bit too expensive, it looks like. Okay. Whatever you want. I'm going to show you another trick. For this particular trick, it's called the ball trick, and it has a different feel to it. Let me just see if I can show you the trick from the beginning. Again, it's mute. This is mute, so it's self-explanatory. 25% lights. Tell me what you think, okay? Tell me what you think. Okay, so this is a different kind of trick. The internet is full of these. Okay? The surprise comes at the end. Anybody has an idea what was going on here? Oh, Galina. Galina was the one to help me do this. Yeah?
Were there multiple like spongy balls, and every time you were like moving it, putting on, you were pulling another one out?
It's possible. Anybody has theories as to what was going on here? Yeah?
This wasn't a camera trick? Or because you didn't put a disclaimer on this one. The other one you put a disclaimer.
Excellent. So this is a camera trick.
Because
This-
I saw your glitch on that.
That's right. This is a camera trick, and not only that it's a camera trick, it's a very crass edit. There's a very blatant edit in it that, you know, it doesn't take, like, you don't need forensics in order to see it. It jumps at you, but it appears at a very strategic moment in time. It appears at a very strategic moment in time. And because during that moment in time you're busy exploring other actions, you miss this thing. I'm going to show you the clip again. Okay, I'm going to show it to you again, and I'm going to ask you to look very carefully only at where you think the action, the real action is. And it will become blatant to you, I hope. Let's put it this way. If you can't see it now, I can't help you. Okay, so the only difference was that now most of you looked at my right hand and you didn't let go. You didn't let go. And before, you looked at my left hand and you did let go. And you missed a very striking cut. Very striking cut. Now, part of the reason that you missed it is because in the first clip that I showed you, I created an expectation, just like you said. There was a disclaimer. Of course, I could lie. But there was a disclaimer saying this is all in one shot. And when you do something all in one shot, the opportunity to do this is much slimmer. The reason this is important is because when you watch clips on the net, when you go on YouTube or whatever, you have absolutely no knowledge or no tools to judge whether this was doctored or not. Unfortunately, many of you would say, but look, he's got like innocent bystanders, you know, looking at him as he does this, he's like walking on water. Are you dumb? Like, what's wrong with you? What is this guy, Jesus Christ? You know, you have to understand that in magic, everything is allowed. You can sell your mother, okay, in order to achieve the effect. So lying is allowed, and people do lie. Not in science, but in magic. So when you study the magic of science, weird things happen. Why? Because this is probably one of the first instances where we can actually see the expectations that people form. And as they become more critical, and by the way, I'm going to be teaching a class called Psych 180. It's a new class at McGill next January. It starts. It's called Psych 180. It's called critical thinking. So it's about how to think critically about various things that happen in the world, and in it we're gonna pepper it with some tricks and also with the kind of deceptions that marketing people use and the kind of schemes that, you know, when people trying to get you to buy certain things or you know, other things of that nature. It's really important to understand that deception is really not taught at universities. They don't teach you how to deceive because they think that the world is composed of honest people. The world is not composed of honest people only. There are other people there as well. Now, when you study the psychology of deception, you can actually see how, after a lecture like this, you actually look at things very differently. So, from the beginning of my talk, I told you how you should not be distracted by certain things, yet you get distracted, and sometimes I point out to you that you're being distracted. And then you learn how to control your distraction a little bit. If we continue to do this, you'll get to be very good at this. Sometimes so good that you'll be skeptical of things that you shouldn't be skeptical of. So, you know, sometimes I point out to my students that some people are so skeptical they become skeptical of their belly buttons. That's bad. You know, if you look at your belly button and say, I'm not sure that you were there, you know, that's bad. That's a bad thing. Because it shows that, you know, you're skeptical to a point that is not productive anymore. Now, when we do magic, it's really important to understand that the magic that we do is a function of the people that we do it to. So I know what is the majority view that you have, for example, about magicians. You expect magicians to be doing certain things. So I have to sometimes do things that you wouldn't expect. So, for example, did I get my thing back? Okay. So, for example, when I use anything, a prop, this is a prop, it's a device or an object or something like that. When I use a prop, it automatically gives you a clue, or to some people it gives a clue that maybe it has to do with the device. If I would do something with my iPhone, because many of you have iPhones, you would assume that this is nothing, this is just an iPhone. But a good magician is one step ahead of you. And they would have something that looks like an iPhone, but it's not an iPhone. Or something like that. A good magician would make you feel or think that it's about the box, that it has nothing to do with the box. It would be trickery for the sake of trickery. It would be trickery in order to lead you astray. Some people will think that, when you see a particular trick, and it doesn't matter what the trick is, they'll say, it's sleight of hand. When you say sleight of hand, you feel that now you solve the problem. It's basically like saying, why is the table here? God put it here. That's the answer. It's God. To say sleight of hand is not enough. If you say, oh, how did you do the egg? Oh, that was just sleight of hand. What kind of explanation is this? Sleight of hand? Sleight of hand is an umbrella term to say, I don't know how he did it. Now, these tricks, the tricks that I show you here, are tricks that are considered to be classics. What does it mean, classics? I show you here a classical cut. When you cut the camera in a particular angle or something, that's a classical cut. You can see it. But I can do a variation on it where I could do the cut in such a professional way that you won't be able to see the cut. And then you're going to be in a bind. You'll say, I don't understand how these balls appear to the other thing, and then you'll have one explanation, like maybe it's a ball inside a ball inside a ball, and it doesn't make sense. Maybe it is a ball. Some people will say, he does it with magnets. He does it with strings. There are mirrors involved. You see, these are typical explanations that people use. Sometimes I show people, like, how did I do this? With magnets. And some people walk away saying, I know how he did it. He's using magnets for this. Now, I'm not going to argue with them. If they have a very strong conviction that I'm doing it with magnets. But the fact of the matter is that most people are like that. Now, there used to be a guy called the masked magician. And the masked magician is a professional magician, from Vegas actually, who decided to expose the big secrets of magicians. And he went on television, and this was a big hit. And you can find it on the web, and it's completely circulating. And all the big secrets of David Copperfield and other people who are doing illusions and so on. Did this change anything? Do you feel that you're a lot more educated about magic today? I mean, when I perform magic tricks to you, you say, wow, this is so lame, it's all on the web. You don't know where to look. And you don't know what to, so the idea is that you can take all these tricks and you can redress them. And the second you redress them, people lose you completely. So I'd like to hope and believe that when you see a magician cut a girl in two, you're not really distressed. I hope that you don't really look for blood and things like that. When David Copperfield 3 times a day has a knife going through his gut, and coming back out, I hope that you're not sort of disturbed by this. I hope that you realize that you're missing some kind of an explanation. And that explanation has to do with your perception of the situation. You're not perceiving the situation the way it's actually happening. It has to do with angles, it has to do with double doors, it has to do with timing, it has to do with distraction, it has to do with many things. But we are cashing on your attentional system, on your perceptual system, to miss certain things. So for me, I am now at a position in my life where it's very difficult for me to enjoy a magic show, because I see it. I see what they're doing, even before they're doing it. I'm so tainted, I've done it so many times, that it's extremely difficult for me. It's like somebody who's seen a stand-up comedian 1,000 times. What do you expect me to roll down like with a joke and a punchline? It's ridiculous. Like I've heard it 1,000 times. So I cannot be as excited about these effects, but I can pretend to be. I can pretend to be. Now, magicians are performers, just like actors. They're performers. They know where the punchline is, and they know how to distract you. And they use very careful pattern. And they lead you through it, and they create tension. And sometimes they release the tension all at once, and they create expectations. So for example, now I'm going to walk you through everything that we did here today. When I started this presentation, I gestured at the clock. And people looked, and I told you, don't look. I brought these girls over, and I told you, don't look, and you looked. You continued to look. And I threw my cards, and I wanted to show you that I'm lame at this, and I succeeded. And I was able to choose the participant that I wanted. I could not have done this with every single person. Now you have to ask yourself some questions. What was special about this $20 bill? Did I plant it in her wallet? Did I speak to the person outside to say, go give her a 20, break a 20? Did somebody ask you to break a 20 or a 40 or something? I mean, you have to start thinking about all these things, but the truth of the matter is you don't know. And you have all these hypotheses that you're working on. And it's the job of the magician to send you so confused out of the room. You know, I had people in Psych 410, this is a course that I teach. Psych 410, usually at the end I give them like some kind of a magic show. People were like upset with me. They were like, how do you do this? I paid tuition. Like, is this going to be in the exam? Like, I need to know. I need to know, how did you do this? And people were like visibly upset. You know, in life, you don't always get explanations for everything. Sometimes you have to work hard in order to get certain explanations. What I can tell you though is that I gave you enough tools today to find whatever explanation you need. It's all available. It's all available on the web. It's all available in books, in libraries, public libraries. I mean, McGill doesn't have a huge collection of magic tricks, but you know, but you can find these things. And the most important thing is, if you're really interested in the psychology of magic, if you're really interested in what goes through the brain or what goes through the neural computation of people when they look at magic tricks or when they're trying to understand or decipher magic, come and participate in our studies. We have a whole bunch of studies that we're doing exactly about that. And then you'll be able to see me do all kinds of gruesome tricks, sometimes that involve blood. And it would be interesting for us to see how you are trying to understand or to explain these things to yourself or to other people. We have learned over time, and I'm going to conclude with this, we have learned that through magic tricks, we can actually learn a lot about human cognition. Because you all know about cognitive dissonance. I assume most of you are like neuroscience, psychology kind of ilk. You don't have to be, but I assume that a lot of you would have this kind of background, or at least some of it. It's really important that you understand that the psychology of magic is very rich, and you can learn a great deal about how you think and how you don't think, and how you make mistakes, and where you go wrong when you look at very simple things. Now I'm going to explain to you how I did the first trick, because I think I owe it to you. Okay, and this would be the last time I would ever explain a trick, ever. So, in the first trick, which I'm not going to explain, I'm just going to let you figure it out. I'll try. I don't always remember how it's done. Is this conveniently not opening now? Or is it over here? Close this first. It's so hard to work with the computer, you can't see the... Okay, so we explained this one. Okay, look. Here he is again. Notice the cup. Notice the cup. What's all this theatrics about drinking from the cup? Are you thirsty suddenly? Okay, and we're ready to roll. And the message comes up. And now I'm going to stop. The trick is already done. What's the trick? I'm going to let you think about that. Thank you very much.
Do you mind enlightening me how he does that? Or what
Sorry,
Curious
it's not.
reception with the chocolate fountain up on the 7th floor by our office. And that very